Hey, y'all, welcome to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network at AmFest. My voice is still here. AmFest 2025 is good to be with you guys. We've been surrounded today. My voice is worn out. And Steve, your voice is still going strong. Chuck Knox, the water boy.
It's amazing what using 2 packs of cough drops as throat steroids will do, brother. I'll tell you that much.
Do you got one for me right now?
Kids at home, that's a life hack for you. Yes.
Where's your wife? I need him right now. We're glad to have Steve Deace on the show. Earlier yesterday, we went on the Blaze, went on your booth,
Thank
your
you for
show
that, by the
yesterday.
way.
Thank you for having us.
That's my first time. You've been on before.
Yeah, I've been on before. Pastor Toby was supposed to fly out and be there in time.
But then I heard you were going to have us, and I just delayed my flight. No, I'm kidding.
I told them the stage could not hold your ego anyway.
He did say
So
that.
it worked out the way it was supposed
Your
to.
pastoral ego.
Thanks, Steve.
So
I got your back. I got your back.
So, Steve, we're actually at AmFest. I mean, I would love to just start here. You know, what are your thoughts on AmFest? What are your thoughts on, being a part of this experience? I don't know if you've done it from this perspective, and you're actually doing shows here, you're speaking here. So this kind of, what are your thoughts from all the angles that you're involved in?
Bittersweet for me. It's an incredible event and testimony to Charlie's legacy. And I got to be around Charlie a lot in the last year plus. And I got to see how he operates behind closed doors myself. And you guys know I've gotten pretty disillusioned doing this over 20 years. I've been Vanta Black, okay? I mean, I stayed away from these kinds of events for several years because I just, early in my career, I kind of was being groomed to be a Charlie Kirk kind of a figure, and I got the invites to all the CNP meetings. That's the Conservative Skull and Bones Society, and shown around and introduced to all the right people, and I just got really demoralized when I saw that frankly, we can't do this without being wimps or whores, if I'm just being honest. We can't do this without either being pushovers or prostitutes. Yeah. And I just said, and I tried to push back on it. It made me kind of angry and bitter, and I didn't like the man it made me. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go plow the road the Lord gave me and do my thing. Yeah. And do it to the best of my abilities. And it was really Charlie that kind of brought me back into this arena and mainstream.
I thought you said it was going to be me that brought you back.
No, you were pushing me out. You're like going further. Dude, you're not in the deep enough end. Go drown. That's
you were able to fit Gabe's ego on your show?
That's right. Wow. Yes. And I think what Charlie showed, and I can't tell you as I got to know Charlie more, and I'd go to some of my own ministry friends around the country and say, listen, you guys have this wrong, all right? What's going on here is prophetic. I know it can be kind of Pentecostally, kind of kooky. I know. But what's happening here is prophetic. And a lot of the people in the circles that I run in were kind of convinced that Charlie was using the gospel for political access. And then what happened after Charlie's martyrdom, and then they watched his memorial, the largest proclamation of the gospel in human history. Yeah. We watched the Secretary of the State, the Roman Catholic Secretary of the State, give an altar call to the world. Yeah. We watched Don Jr. stand up and do an exegesis on St. Stephen that 95% of evangelicals have never even heard. Yeah. Right?
No, for real.
And then a lot of those same contacts of mine came back to me afterwards, and they said, you know what? You were right. We had it backwards. We thought Charlie was using the gospel for the political process. What Charlie was doing was using the political process for the gospel. And then and what happened is TPUSA Faith was flooded with thousands of requests. I've gotten to be very good friends this year with Lucas and Matt and Sloan, who run that organization. Great guys. And we had a pastor's banquet on Wednesday night to kick off this whole event. And when Lucas asked, how many of you have never been to one of our pastor's events before, the amount of hands that went up in the room, all right? And so it's bittersweet, something that Charlie just started as an after party at CPAC 10 years ago. And now you are we just watched, right before I got up and spoke, I watched a Major League Baseball player get up and do a gospel presentation and an evangelism presentation and then take questions from the audience on how to share your faith. Wow. That's the fruit of what Charlie has done. And
beautiful.
I think, and it's bittersweet that he's not here to see it. And it's bittersweet, the cost of it. Yeah. This all came at a very high cost. And I will tell you, I'd struggle with covetousness at Charlie's death if it weren't for Erica and those babies.
Oh, yeah.
And if Charlie was 52 like me, and his kids were grown, and he saw them to adulthood. I mean, guys, I don't know if you've checked the death rate lately. It remains 100%.
Yeah.
Every time I check it, that's what it is.
Death don't miss.
Can you script a better death than painless death, killed for what I believe, bringing the gospel to my enemies as Christ did?
That's right.
All right?
Amen.
And I die in the arena, all right, taking on challenges to my faith and belief system, and in front of in the most watched murder in all of human history that inspired the earliest mustard seeds we've seen of revival around this country in a long, long time. If it were not for those wife and kids that will never have him at the dinner table again, and it breaks my heart every time I think about that, if it weren't for that, I'd be like, you son of a gun, man. You were better than all of us alive, and you're still kicking our butts when you're dead. The dude's like the Christian Tupac. He's got more hits after he died. Okay? I mean, you're better than us.
Man.
You're not
That's
even
great.
here, and you're still better
That's
than
right.
us. Okay?
That's right.
That's so
Unfortunately, there's a high cost to his parents and those family members, and I think now that our charge now is those babies grow up and hear about how great. I've known a lot of men, not a lot of great men.
Yeah.
And that was a great man. And as those kids grow up now, the challenge for the rest of us is to not let their father's sacrifice have been in vain.
That's right. So you actually made me think of something here. At the pastor's dinner on Wednesday night, you were talking about mythology, because we were kind of talking about unity, kind of talking about some of the disunity that's going on, some of the fights, all that stuff. And you mentioned mythology as kind of the unifying factor, being on mission, basically. I don't like the word mythology because it was a buzzword for a while.
Don't blame you.
Yeah.
Which is why I re-trademarked it, and I call it now missiology. I mispronounce it to completely try to get away from the previous generation.
I
It
like
sounds
that.
like a totally different term that I made up.
Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
Let's keep it like that, missiology.
But the question I had was, and not to put a stink bomb in the room, but we're talking about unity. And sometimes when people talk about unity, they talk about it like it's the highest good that God wants.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I kind of shirked back from that. And when I had this reaction, this kind of knee-jerk reaction a little bit when we're talking about unity, and I'm like, God's the highest moral good is not unity. The highest moral good is first the cross of Christ. The highest moral good is first Jesus dying on the cross for our sins, and God's in heaven and we're on earth. And so unity to me is healthy unity comes from dying to our sins, living into Christ, and then aligning behind Christ our thoughts, our desires, our missiology, and all that stuff. So how do we unify, or what does that unity look like? And I don't know if you can really do this, but at what level, how important is unity in kind of this hierarchy of Christian good, if that makes sense?
So the German aristocracy weren't really big fans of the papists in Rome, and the feeling was mutual until the Muslims went to Vienna, and the next stop was good old gay Paris. And all of a sudden, the papists in Rome and the aristocracy in Germany was like, man, you know what sucks worse than you? Okay? Learning Arabic and investing in the prayer mat business sucks worse than you. All right?
Yeah.
So we're going to figure this bad boy out real quick. All right? And so let me tell you what it's not. What is not is some watered down, mishmash, ecumenical garbage goulash where you lose all forms of distinctiveness and nuance. That is not what it is. All right? And I'm out on anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that we're arguing too much. I don't think we're arguing enough.
That's right.
Agreed.
What Tucker
100.
and Ben did here last night was not an argument.
No.
That was dual temper tantrums.
It was a cat fight.
By two grown men who hijacked an event that was not about themselves, and they should have known better than that.
That's
And
good.
frankly, I got very angry watching that transpire last night. All right? That was akin to you're around the Thanksgiving table, and you're like, hey, everybody hold hands and say what you're thankful for. And the two family members that are each other's throats decide, let me tell you what I'm not thankful for. That guy.
I'm thankful that this
Why
guy's
ain't
an
thankful for
idiot.
you?
That's right. All right.
Yeah,
Next
right.
thing you know, the sweet topping everybody fights over. The sweet potatoes is ice cold. All right. The turkey was terrible out of the oven. Now it's even worse.
Yeah,
all right.
that's good stuff.
And it's like we're never doing this again. All right. And so that is when you're off mission. And that's when you have two individuals whose mission they're not only aligned, but they think that their particular narrative on that mission is bigger than the mission itself. All right? And so to me, missiology is there are things we're not going to agree on. Fight, debate. Let's have those fights and debates. I think what Tucker and Ben said last night is exactly what they should have said. That just wasn't the setting for it. All right, we should organize events. Let's have this out. That could have been a breakout session or something here.
In honor of Charlie.
But especially on the opening night, that's the primetime tempo we're going to set for that, right? Yeah. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we felt the most unity in the aftermath of Charlie's death than we've ever had. And I don't think it's any coincidence at all that the spirit of the age conjured up a fake Gnostic version of unity around.
I'm just
asking questions. All right. I don't think there's any coincidence about that whatsoever. All right, I don't. And I think, you're right over there. Okay.
What happened again, Steve?
What I think happened is for one of the few times, I think we scared the devil. I think the devil, because here's what you see in church history. Throughout church history, whenever there's about to be some kind of revival, it's signaled often by the Lord bypassing the existing ecclesiastical structure. What's the greatest example of that? The Reformation would be. Well, I'd say the second greatest example. The greatest example of that was the Lord said, you heard it said by these people, but I say. All right? The dawn of the Christian church in and of itself is the greatest example of this.
Yeah.
All right?
Right.
But the Reformation is sort of a facsimile or a codicil of that, right? And so what you saw, when you do see things like Don Jr., right, preaching St. Stephen, and Marco Rubio giving altar calls, right? When you do see these kinds of things, we see the Vice President of the United States saying, I'm a relatively new Catholic convert. I was scared of talking about my faith. I'm inspired now to get up and talk about it. That is the Holy Spirit saying, I gave you all a generation, and I'm out. All right? You guys wanted to build Protestant monasteries in the suburbs. At least when the Catholics did it, they were smart enough to build them in the middle of nowhere, so they had an excuse not to engage anything. You guys actually went to the wealthiest, most powerful places in your community and built these multi-acreage, multi-site,
churches,
exactly, and then took your vows of non-engagement. You're right in the middle of where all the captains of industry are, all the people of prominence, every school board, every public library, and you just absconded your calling. And that was the Lord saying, you cannot stop this. Even the stones will cry out. All right? I'm even going to, and I think that was a signal. I think what Charlie showed is that we can be prophetic in this arena. We do not have to lose our souls. And this third way bifurcation that emasculated us and that castrated us, that transed us spiritually, all right, that sold a lot of books and made a lot of people brands. We didn't build much of a kingdom this last generation, but boy, howdy, man, we built some brands, brother.
Come on now.
All right?
Come on.
We built a lot of brands. And I think that bifurcation, that we can create this neutral gospel where sinners feel bad about their sins once, but then never, ever have to confront the world around them, starting with the sin that still needs to be sanctified within them, right? And I think Charlie showed that's a false choice. And he blew up the third. Charlie punked, scammed, schemed, destroyed third wayism and seeker friendlyism once and for all. Yeah, he was the guy who actually went where the seekers were. Isn't it funny, brother? Yeah. Isn't it funny, Toby, that the seekers are always in the most posh, richest suburbs in America? You ever notice that?
Right.
It's always amazing. Where the people can write the biggest tithe checks. That's always where the seekers are, brother. Instead, Charlie actually went where the men were that were going to be the next generation of husbands, fathers, and captains of industries and leaders. He went to the real seekers. And I think when the Lord said, when the enemy saw that we had a path forward here to be prophetic without losing our witness, I think he panicked. And I think that's where all of a sudden let's mainstream Nick Fuentes. All of a sudden, let's find out that Candace Owens is so retarded she doesn't know what the Utah time zone is. All right, let's go, and let's make sure that's all anybody ever sees in their For You feed on X as well.
Yeah.
For the last 2 months, if I post anything, even if it's negative, if I post anything about Nick Fuentes or Candace Owens, you look at the engagement I get on that in every single social media feed compared to anything else I post, and the gods of Silicon Valley just could not wait to inject that rot gut into us. I had a friend of mine who helped with the digital promotion of Nefarious. He called me about 2 months ago, and he had just gotten back from a business trip overseas. And he said, Steve, man, you're not going to believe. And I had to call you when I heard you. You were like one of the first people that really started taking on whatever it is Candace is doing. And he goes, I had to call you and tell you what I just experienced. I just got back. My dear, sweet, 115-pound Latin Mass, Mel Gibson's not Catholic enough trad wife. I was gone for a week. All right? I come back home. My wife, I'm bored. Or she's bored, I'm gone. I come back. She just got into Candace's podcast for a week. And it's just like she took every tabloid magazine and just mainlined it into her soul in one drip. And she's convinced that Erica and everybody in here and Mikey and everybody was in on it. And the Mossad put out the order. So the Mossad put out the order with the Egyptian planes following. How retarded does this sound? Just to say it out loud. Maximum retardation. Okay? And he goes, but here's the thing. He goes, Steve, my wife is a brilliant, sweet, humble woman. It took me 3 days. 3 days to deconstruct this.
Wow.
All right? And one week of listening to this. That is supernatural. I don't care what you think of Candace Owens' abilities. No human can program and impute a psyop into people as instantly without some form of supernatural help and assistance. And I don't think it's any coincidence at all that this stuff emerged right away, just as we came out of that with a shared purpose and mission despite our differences. And I think it's when we are within our shared purpose and mission that now we can truly discuss and debate our differences, right? I mean, think of your own family.
That's right.
When you're rowing the boat in the same direction, all right? When dad is doing what he's called to do, when mom is doing what she's called to do, when the kids are doing what they're called to do, are you having more productive disagreement conversations then, or when you feel betrayed or let down because somebody in this arrangement isn't pulling their weight, right?
Right.
I think one of the things that unity is that you have to fight for it.
Yes.
Like a lot of unity we think needs to be peaceful and that's it, right? Versus fighting for it, meaning fighting for
there's this idea that Charlie just went and did kumbaya to all these. I did some of these stops with Charlie. Yeah. It wasn't kumbaya. Dude, one pastor buddy of mine Charlie did an event with this at this guy's church, and Charlie went so hard on soft pastors and started calling him out by name that even my pastor buddy was like, bro, that's a little too much smoke. Okay? So to me, Charlie's a little bit like Reagan. Everybody wants to play the clips of 88, 89 Reagan.
Yeah.
Nobody ever plays the "You Have a Rendezvous with Destiny" 64, 65 Reagan. Nobody ever says, "Hey, we need Joe." Nobody ever plays the "Joe McCarthy was right" Reagan. You ever notice that? Nobody ever plays the "In Your Heart, you know Barry Goldwater was right" Reagan. Everybody wants to play the Reagan that may have had early Alzheimer's in the last year or two of his White House, and he's just kind of meandering around like the Land of Confusion Genesis video. It's a little bit like everybody loves the Jesus in the manger, but not the one who walks out of the tomb like a boss and returns on a white horse with a robe dipped in blood. All right.
Blood flipping over tables.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't. That's the one that they're all afraid of, right? Yeah. And so everybody wants to play like all Charlie just did was buy the world a Coke. Let me tell you, I did some of these events with Charlie, and my friend, he could go hard. Yeah. He could, but he always did it out of a desire to transform and change people. It was his motivations that were right.
That was one of the things that my wife hadn't actually seen a lot of Charlie Kirk, but after he was killed, she just started looking him up, and that was one of the first things she said to me. She says, he goes hard. Yes. She says, sometimes he's like pretty like intense.
Well, that brings me to the shirt.
Yes.
So Charlie and I did the last Freedom Night at his home church, Freedom City Church in Phoenix. And he hosts Freedom Nights there at his home church. See, that's the other thing.
Dream City?
What's that?
Dream City Church?
Dream City. It's Freedom Night at Dream City. Thank you. Here's the thing, too. There's a lot of podcasters in our business and stuff. They want to get into this space. Hey, I turned into not mentioning names, Tucker Carlson, not mentioning names. I just became a Christian like 2 years ago, Tucker Carlson, but I'm appointing myself Athanasius. I'm bishop here. Okay, I'm Augustine. I'm in charge. Charlie's gone. I'm going to step in now. I got this. Listen to me. What home church does he go to? Do you know? Because I can tell you what home church Charlie had.
Well, we know he's not Anglican or Episcopalian anymore. Okay. We know that.
I mean, dude, what Charlie then outside of his church went to Pastor Rob McCoy and got extra second pastoral accountability in his life. Then Charlie went to theologians like Frank Turek and said, hey, check my work. Yeah, I'm going out there defending the gospel, man. Watch my clips. Tell me if I don't know See, he was seeking out accountability, seeking out wisdom. When all the people that now want to get into this space, find out where do they go to church? Does their home church give them a platform? Or are they like, just like you know a lot about a candidate if their family's in the campaign? You're going to know a lot about people in this space now that want to get in this faith space. You're going to know a lot about, well, what church they go to and what's their home church say. Like right before I went out to speak this afternoon, text 5 minutes before, my own pastor texted me and says, brother, go kill it. All right? All right. Do you have that local church accountability and encouragement in your life, right? And so the last one Charlie ever did was the one him and I did in June. And right before we went out there to speak, and I get nervous, not to speak to the group, but then I'm going to say things that, since this isn't my house, in my house, I don't care. It's my house.
Right.
You come to my show, what'd you think you were going to get? All right? But it's your house, and I want to be a good guest, you know? And so sometimes when I go on, not with you guys, all right? Because I know you guys will get mad at me if I tone it down.
100%.
So you kick your feet up like
I
it's
know
your
Knox
house.
will just beat me with this mic right here, and Toby be like, he needed killing. I know that'll happen, all right? But most of the time, I'm like, and sometimes I'll even say this on the air, hey, it's not my show. Are you okay if I say this? You know, because I'm not the one that's got to clean up the mess afterwards, right? And so Charlie's about to go out and introduce me, and he bends down into my ear, and which he had to do because he was like 6'5". And he bends down into my ear. He says, 2 words. Go hard. And then he went out there and introduced me. And we went out there, man, and I mean, I got to watch the clips. I don't even remember like the whole hour. We just went out there and like laid down ordnance for like an hour. Okay. It was like spiritual napalm. All right. We like, you know, it was just, I mean, there was just nothing left when we got done. And that's what the shirt means. And right after he died, my wife went out and got these printed for me. And they're just for me. I'm not here to market anything. We're not going to sell these things. That's sacrilege. All right. It's a reminder for me because I'm getting into the third act of life now.
Yeah.
And I'm Papa now. Okay. And I'm Grandpa now.
Yes, you are. Yes.
And I am totally owned. Okay. I am an absolute grifter as a grandparent. Completely sold out. All right.
Yes,
and
sir.
I want it that way.
Yes, sir.
I'm not complaining. I volunteered for tribute.
Amen.
I offer my bank account as tribute. All right. And I'm kind of enjoying now being the older, wiser guy in the room. Right. And there's something to be said for the Lord giving you enough standing in this place to get you to that point. But I can't go soft at the end. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I
That's
can't
right.
go soft
That's
at the
right.
end. I can't be
That's
let me blow up my family at 60 guy because the 41-year-old secretary was hot.
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
right.
do that.
That's
I can't
right.
do that.
Preach. You better
All right?
preach.
I can't do well, you know, the economy's not great right now. Sales in our business aren't what they were a year ago. So, you know, maybe I'll not talk about things like Tucker and Ben because everybody gets offended when I do.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the rates drop and the ad rates drop. And then I go home and my kids are like, hey, why aren't you talking about what we're all talking about? That guy, right? And so now is the time more than ever. We're also rightfully concerned about the young men. And that was one of Charlie's primary mission fields. Yeah. And what Charlie modeled on the front end is the life that we want our young men to seek.
Yes.
But if we want to keep our young men on the Charlie Kirk road and off of the Nick Fuentes road, where he's telling our young men, just said this the other day, being a family man's, quote, pathetic. Being the guy carrying the baby stroller is, quote, pathetic. All right? Be an incel like me. The reason we're losing young men to that is because the previous generation of men collectively did not finish well. Yeah. And so what happens is the young men don't see that those early financial struggles, those early relationship struggles, that the perseverance through that pays off at the end.
That's right.
All right? And that I can just say by God's grace at 52, I have the life that at 32, when Charlie died, I always wanted. My wife still pinches my butt. We still make out and gross out the kids.
Yes.
They still say, get a room.
Praise God.
Amen.
All right?
Yeah.
I have 3 kids. None of them are gay race communists. None of them hate me.
Yeah.
They all go to church on their own. All right, we have disagreements. Some think that I'm too intense. My oldest daughter, God bless her, doesn't think I'm intense enough. Okay? All right? They all are attracted to members of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
And none of them hate us.
That's a flex.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they're all coming over for Christmas. Yeah. We do family dinners almost every Sunday, unless I'm traveling. Yep. All right? And this is all those years we persevered. Now my daughter's like, hey, you know, our stove just broke. Can you help? I'll just have one shipped the next day because because we struggled.
That's right.
Because we didn't sell out.
Yeah.
It took 10 years to build this show into the 7-figure enterprise that it is now.
Yes,
and
praise
now I
God.
can do things like that for my kids.
Yeah.
We didn't turn right around and buy the 5,000 square foot home. We live in the nice upper middle class 3,000 square foot home we've lived in for 20 years. So that now we can do things like, hey, my youngest daughter's car broke down. We just went and bought her a new one and replaced it.
You just ordered her a Tesla and it just drove
We
to her
didn't do
house.
that, okay? It was like a 2021, wasn't that, okay? All right, but my point is, I'm at the stage now where everything that we struggled through as a couple, and for me as a father and a husband, all the payoff is right now. And see what will happen if you do this and you get to my point. You'll regret that you didn't do this earlier so that you could be here at 42 instead of 52 or 45 instead of 55, right?
100%.
And what we now need to model on the back end. See, Charlie was the first stage proof of concept. We're the closing stage proof of concept.
Yeah.
And if we show the young men that this is the finish line right here, your children will rise up and call you blessed.
Yes.
That you will be the patriarch at the table. They will call you and ask for assistance and guidance and wisdom. Even if they don't agree, they know they can trust you, love them, and have the best interest at heart, right? That this is the payoff. And I think the charge of our generation is we have to be the generation of men that resets finishing well.
I swear you read my mind when you come on the show. Because that's exactly what I wanted you to say. Seriously, I was going to ask you about Gen Z, and that's exactly... You know, one of the things that's happening to them is that this root has to go down deep, right? And they look at that root and it's like, man, this is going to take forever to get a tree out of. This is going to take forever to get fruit out of. And what you're saying is like, yeah, I know. I've been through that. And guess what? This fruit is sweet. And you know what? Every seed that comes from here is going to make another tree.
Right.
And it's going to be better than this one. And that's something to hope for, right? And I said this before, but this is what Christ has done. He looked forward to the glory that was set before him.
Right.
Like there's a glory from this that comes after this. Like once that seed goes to the ground, guess what? It's got to die. You're not going to escape that.
Correct.
But guess what? It's a better promise that comes after that comes from that, that's going to be very fruitful.
Right
Brother,
on.
you a bad man.
Bad man.
Bad man.
Steve, I think one of the reasons why men go through a midlife crisis is because they don't see what you just showed us.
It's why I went through my own midlife crisis.
Yeah, and
I went through my own.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they.
I was this close. My wife and I were this close to walking away.
Oof.
I mean,
What
we
were you
had
telling us about
divorce
that?
attorney calls. We worked it out the night before. The class, it's kind of funny now because my wife's a Liberty grad. She does the Christian marriage counseling now. That's what her profession is. And now she's the one that has the Christian couples that come into her office and say, well, we've grown apart. We don't think the Lord would want, you get these now, right?
Yeah.
We don't think the Lord would want us to be unhappy. Now she's the one getting those calls when we were the ones making those calls 5 years ago. And the only thing that I did right during that time, and this is what I would say to the men in the audience, that if you're in this place, your father knows what's going on.
Amen.
He's
That's right.
aware.
Yep.
The only thing that I did right, I went to church every Sunday while this was going on. I never got out of the word. I didn't act like God was like, I don't think he knows. I didn't do that. Okay?
Yeah, right.
I had no idea how we were going to stop the spiral. I did not know. I did not know how much of this was her responsibility, how much was mine, how much of the responsibility, frankly, I wanted to own up to.
Yeah.
All right? And all I knew, though, was, and I learned this lesson one winter. During Christmas break to make money, I did delivery driving, and when I was in college, and it was one of the worst ice storms West Michigan had ever had. All right, and I never had driven a rear-wheel drive vehicle before, and so I'm driving this delivery truck rear-wheel drive, and I just start spinning out all over the place, right? And your instinct when you start spinning out is to turn the wheel which way? The opposite direction that you're spinning out.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I then learned what jaws of life were because I ended up over a 10-foot snowbank.
Wow. Yeah.
Front down of this delivery truck. They had to come get me out, pull the truck out of the ditch. All right, because your instinct when the ground shifts and you're unsettled, the instinct is to turn away from that, and that just caused a full spin out.
Yeah.
And instead, I learned you turn into it.
That's right.
And so while this was going on, all right, I went to church. Amy's sleeping on the couch, or I am. Wherever I'm sleeping, God and I had a lot of very honest conversations every night. I did not hide. I did not look for fig leaves to cover shame. I did not act like and I'm like, God, I don't know how I'm getting out of this. and I know in here that this is wrong. Everybody can quote all the Bible verses to me. I know them all. I quote them to everybody else, all right? But in here, I can't get these things to line up. I just feel like I'm drowning. I cannot get out. And I think that humility, God honored that by just literally stopping us and coming, you guys are retarded. We're not doing this, right?
Yeah.
And he stopped us from doing something really stupid. Now, it took 2-3 more years to slowly, steadily build this back up to where we always wanted it to be.
Right.
And now we almost go nowhere together. She's the best friend I've ever had. Our marital relations are better now than they were when they were in their 20s.
Yeah.
Right? And that's because we were humble and honest before God.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say to the men in this audience. Your father is not unaware of your peccadillos. He's not like, I got to tell you, I had such high expectations for you, and I'm just really disappointed here.
Right.
All right?
That's right.
He elected you knowing you were going to be this gay and retarded. He knew that in advance.
Yeah.
All right? He knew you were going to be this dumb.
Preach, Calvinist.
Okay? All right?
That's
and
funny.
so what you then have to understand is, well, if that's the case, how do I reconcile that he saved me despite knowing how I was going to come this close to blowing it? And it's because he has no intention of letting you go ahead and actually blow it.
Right. That's
but
right.
you've got to turn into where it's unsettled, turn into where it's painful, and that's where you're going to find that solid footing again.
You know, it's amazing to me, and this is, I think, indicative of kind of where the church is at and some of the problems that the church is falling into. Marriage only gets better if you're faithful and you're confessing your sins in marriage and you're working hard to love your wife. I mean, marriage is hard. But what's crazy is no one talks about how marriage gets better if you live according to the scriptures.
Right.
I mean, I'm going on 21 years. I mean, marriage is, you get married and you're young and trying to figure things out, and you're trying to figure out how to be a husband, how to be a wife, how to have a dynamic. But if you're faithful with it, I can't even describe how much better my marriage is. I can't
100%.
even quite articulate, right?
Yep.
And it's either 21 years into it, but it's the continual faithfulness of lifting your marriage up to the Lord, confessing your sins, pulling those weeds out of the garden, and you look back and you're like, God, how did marriage get so much better? Yeah. And it's a genuine work of the Holy Spirit because he can't even quite articulate how beautiful that marriage is now compared to what it was when you so then you
just kind of practically get to that stage where you're like, dude, I have no interest in going back into the dating scene at all. No. Right? And we're all sinners, all right? Let's just make the odds we can make this thing work are far better off. They're going to make something new work.
Come on now.
Okay? You know?
That's right.
I think that's why God made it a lifetime commitment.
Yeah. Right.
First you have the high, right? And then the reality of, oh snap, I married a sinner.
Yeah.
But what you don't know is they're looking at you and saying, oh snap,
Yeah.
I married a sinner.
Yeah.
All right? And then there's the stage of getting past that. All right?
Yeah.
And then not feeling like you're owed something by the other side and them feeling the same. And it's actually when you don't feel like that you're owed something and meet their needs as best as you can in your flesh. That is actually then when they return the favor and do the exact same thing. That complementary nature. It's hard to teach soterology without understanding Jewish wedding custom. And then what's the consummation of the wedding is the marriage in and of itself. And what is the relationship of Christ and his church most often compared to in the New Testament? Marriage.
Yeah.
The bride and the groom. Right? And it's the most intimate relationship we can possibly have this side of eternity. And then just to demonstrate the intimacy we'll have with God on the other side, there's no need for marriage there at the same time. Stop it. That should blow your mind.
Yeah.
That should blow your mind. The most intimate relationship we can possibly have this side of eternity, the relationship we will have with Christ on the other side, is so much greater that there's no need for this.
Man. Amen.
I don't think that can get any better.
Amen. Let's just leave it there.
Steve,
Talk about one more thing.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
You got time?
I do.
thought we were burning you out.
I do have time, don't I, babe?
We got about.
She's right there.
We got about
keeper.
15 minutes.
Okay.
So we got a little
Oh,
time.
good. Okay.
Ask me about Tucker Carlson.
So, Steve, what's your thoughts on Tucker?
No,
Let me say, and this is not meant to be a disclaimer at all.
Okay.
It's meant to be a context of the individual, okay? of all the big major stars in our business, the ones that I've known who, in terms of how they treat other people, I would put their individual character integrity up against anybody else, are Glenn Beck and Tucker Carlson. The list of people that Tucker has done solids and favors for, and I'm on that list. All right? The reason Fauci and Bargan went number one, dropped, and then went number one again, which is, it's hard as it is to go number one the first time.
Right.
It's hard to do it
Right.
twice.
Yeah.
He's the reason why.
Right.
Tucker is the only person that would book me on Fox. In fact, it's funny. They just, one of their PR people called me this morning and said, hey, we want to get you on to talk about Charlie. And then came back and said, oh, corporate vetoed it. We can't do it. I'm blacklisted over there.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
And so I genuinely, as a human being, I genuinely admire and adore Tucker.
And Fox hasn't vetoed Bruce Jenner.
Well, there you go. Yes. All right. So, but here's the thing. Tucker's making me mad because he's making me agree with Ben Shapiro again, and I resent the heck out of that. I need you all to know that. All right. I mean, of all the things Tucker has said and done this year to frustrate people, making me feel like, maybe Ben Shapiro has a point. That of all, I'm the most offended at that, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
all right?
I can see that.
All right? And I think with Tucker, I think one of two things is happening. And I think this coming year is going to tell us which one it is. All right? I think the best you could say is that in response to the complete treachery and failure of the neocon era of the American right, that you're watching Tucker evolve into essentially the Ron Paul of his generation. Many of the things that Tucker is saying right now, particularly in the arena of foreign policy, would sound a lot like Ron Paul speeches in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
All right? And that's why I've always said about libertarians, they're 100% right 80% of the time. And then the other 20%, you're like, that peyote must have just crushed it. All right? Because I have no idea how you got to that, how that math worked out. All right? All right? Because when he's not talking about Israel, and it's not even that I disagree, it's funny, Tucker is saying theologically about Israel, what I got in trouble for doing those shows 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
Right? Putting people like Gary DeMar and Joel McDermott on
Right.
to have these shows.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah,
That's
I was
right.
thinking about that.
And so it's not even, I'm not offended in asking these questions at all. But when you say things like Christians are better off in Qatar than Israel, I've probably used the word retarded way too much on your show.
Yeah.
But that is one of the most retarded things any human being has said in the year 2025.
I'll give you a word, asinine.
Yes,
There we
that's
go.
another one.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Those of us who have known Tucker at all, or even if all you knew of him was his monologues every night on
Yeah,
Fox,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
you know he's not dumb.
Yeah.
Right.
You know he's
Absolutely.
too smart.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And so people are left with, how are you saying things so asinine?
Yeah.
And then they're left with jumping to the most wicked conclusions.
Right.
Tucker
right.
was making $40 million a year at Fox. He's making more now. I have a hard
He's
time
making
believing
more now?
Yes. I have a hard time believing the government of Qatar bought off a guy who lives in Maine. How much money can you spend in Maine? How much money can you spend in Maine? I mean, Stephen King owns the whole state. There's nowhere to go. 6 months out of the year, you're snowed in.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing Qatar bought Tucker Carlson off with the money he's made. But people make those kinds of projections when you say things that clearly the math, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so the best case scenario is I think Tucker lacks biblical accountability, local church anchoring.
Yep.
All the things that grounded Charlie, you don't see Tucker talk about or exhibit at all. And that's a problem because with Charlie gone, Tucker is the number one show and platform we have in our movement now. Right?
I thought it was Candace, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, I said our movement.
I've said our
I didn't
movement.
see.
Our movement,
I didn't say the other
Yeah,
movement.
right.
I said our
Our
movement. Yeah.
Got you.
And so, I think the best you can say is Tucker's evolving out of anger and frustration at the injustices of the last era, where a lot of people got killed for nothing. All right, and is kind of going to become the Ron Paul of his era. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario, and the one I fear, and I hope I'm wrong, I really do, is that we are watching deconstruction happen. And when you watch people in the church, whether it's Jen Hatfield, Rhett and Link, and a lot of times it's an injustice among the Christians or the church that causes that is used as the justification for the deconstruction.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they didn't punish the Catholic priests.
Yeah.
So let me deconstruct, right? Well, you know what? Rhett and Link. Well, you guys were hard on gay people, but said nothing about divorce and pornography. So you've lost all your integrity. And so now Rhett and Link are doing fetish videos on YouTube
Right,
now.
right.
They've totally deconstructed.
Forget about morality.
Exactly, right?
Wow.
Totally
Wow.
deconstructed. And my fear is that, especially when Tucker says things like what he said here last night, all right, castigating us for not wanting to live under Islamism, lecturing Christians. Charlie's, I can just tell you, because I've got the private signal chats with Charlie. We discussed Islam and its infiltration. Charlie talked about no subject the last 6 months of his life more than Islamic infiltration of America. Quote, Charlie Kirk, Islam is not compatible with Western civilization. And to see Tucker go up on his stage last night and lecture these people, that was like a George Floyd thing. I mean, it's just change the language from Muslim to George Floyd and explain to me how what Tucker said last night is any different than the churches who put up the BLM BLM flags, I should say, Freudian slip. BLM flags. I defy you. Tell me, just swap out George Floyd for Muslim and tell me why it was any different. I promise you it wasn't. And that's why a lot of people got up in that arena and walked out, as he was saying this last night. And my fear is that without local church anchoring, I would urge everyone in your audience to pray earnestly for Tucker. Without local church anchoring and accountability, I'll say the same thing I said at Joe Webbin's conference earlier this year.
I was there for that.
If you do not have accountability, you will become what you hate.
That's right.
It's a metaphysical certitude in life that'll happen. You'll become what you hate. And my fear is, without that kind of local church anchoring that Charlie had, without that seeking of accountability and wisdom that Charlie had, that we are watching Tucker deconstruct. And I think this year is going to tell us which path he is on.
Ooh.
I think I have some sympathy on both those takes. I remember when Tucker left Fox, I had a book I wanted to send him. I thought it'd be really good for him to read, and he texted me back and he said, "All I've been doing is reading the Bible. Don't worry about it right now." And then he had said publicly in a number of places that
Listen, there's no Pete Hegseth without Tucker Carlson.
That's right.
There's no J.D. Vance without Tucker
Yeah.
Carlson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Tucker's body of work up until the last 6 months, I'd put that body of work, especially the last 5 years, up against anything anybody in our business has produced other than Rush Limbaugh, the patriarch.
Yeah. Facts.
Yeah. And so my take is and he said publicly in other venues and so forth that this is I finally read through the Bible my first time. And he's like, it just blew him away. And he, kind of loathes his Episcopalian upbringing for all the, lack of knowledge and ignorance that he has as a Christian.
For being fair to Tucker, abandoning his Episcopalian upbringing does show that he actually read the Bible.
It's 100%.
He did read it, right? He did read it.
No,
Okay,
it's definitely definitely
That's what's giving me
positive
hope.
in
Like
this.
I'm holding out a lot of hope. It's like
Yeah.
if he keeps reading that Bible, who knows what turns we're gonna have here. So,
And I think that my hope is that I think I am hoping he's on a good trajectory, and he's just assembling the Bible still in his mind, and assembling kind of good theology in his mind in that process. So,
but to Steve's point, though, I think Steve's making a point that for me transcends Tucker and everybody else in this conversation, and goes somewhat back to marriage too. When you made your covenant before God, you made it in front of people. This is a public proclamation, and your church is a huge part of the discipling process. And so for people who are not connected to the church, you get weird. Your marriages get weird.
Yeah.
Your family gets weird. Your politics gets weird.
Right on.
Everything gets weird because that is the tether that holds you to doctrine, right? It's the tether that holds you. When you were saved, you weren't saved to float out here. You were saved to the church. Right? And so I think that that's a huge point that needs to be made about everybody. It's like, listen, the closer you are to the church, the less weird you get.
I mean, for 5 years, if I sent Tucker a text, I got a response within 48 hours every single time. And when the whole thing with Fuentes happened, I said, listen, you want to deconstruct Israel. You want to deconstruct Zionism. You want to look at alternative eschatological theories prior to John Nelson Darby, and I've got the Rolodex, and there's a way to do this without let's retcon Hitler. maybe we were on the wrong. Listen, if you want to deconstruct a war, it's World War I is the post World War I consensus is the problem, because it's what led to World War II and everything else.
I agree.
All right, but no, let's deconstruct the last war that we actually knew we were on the right side of history. All right, and because to deconstruct that means we're reconsidering absolute pure manifestations of demonic evil, and there's ways to do this and without stepping on the rakes and the landmines. And where I get concerned is when I text a guy for 5 years and I get a response within 48 hours every single time, but as time goes on, maybe it's a week, maybe it's a month. Now it's been months. You know what I'm saying? And that tells me that that guy has kind of just shut everything off. That does not think about, let's make this very practical and not about a multi-million-dollar superstar. But Toby, you've got a guy in your church. You know he was struggling with faithfulness to his wife, right? And at first, he wants to remain faithful. So every day you text him, hey, man, watch your eyes. Hey, man, go straight home, right? And he's answering right away, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then, then you keep up, and a few days go by, and he doesn't text you back. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking he's in trouble.
He's in trouble. Yeah. A month goes by, 2 months go by, and now he won't answer you at all. What are you thinking?
Yeah,
he's in real deep doo-doo.
Yeah, that's right.
He's bought in a narrative, and he knows that narrative will get him, if he comes to me with it, he's going to get called out. Yeah. And so he's dug in on his narrative. And when I see things like Tucker, again, tell me as a pastor, the way Tucker came here and behaved last night, does that look like a guy who is interested in come now and reason together, or a guy that thinks he's the hammer and only sees nails, and his narrative is the right one? What do you think it is?
Yeah. I mean, he was... He
and the mic. Yeah.
He certainly... He did not come in to actually have a conversation.
No.
There was not a conversation there. I mean... Ben certainly came out swinging.
I was gonna say, like he got hit first. Come on, be fair.
There's something there.
But see, this is where Ben's not a Christian.
Right.
Sure.
So I'm not holding him to that standard. I get the dude code.
Tucker got smoke on his cloak, though. Let's be honest.
These guys have been cat fighting. No, these guys are like the bar fight.
Yeah.
Hold me back, man. Hold me back. They won't go on each other. I mean, but I hear you. I
think your point earlier that was really well.
I think so too. I still think it's still valid.
I think your point about it not being the place and time.
Yeah.
That's a valid point.
But let's have this fight somewhere.
Yeah.
I think that's well.
So can I give a different read on that?
Guess where we're going to have it? Right here on Saturday. All right.
Yeah.
And so Doug Wilson and I are going to sit down. And we're going to do this up on the main stage for like an hour on Saturday.
Right.
And we're going to demonstrate that it is possible to have serious reservations about the direction of American foreign policy, to not believe that the current iteration of Israel has any prophetic significance whatsoever, and to do this without becoming groyper anti-Semitic scumbags.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so let me summarize Romans 9 through 11 for you. You don't get to be an anti-Semitic scumbag.
Right.
That's it. That's your paraphrase. You don't get Romans 9 through 11. You can't be an anti-Semitic scumbag.
I'll say this in closing. I appreciate your take on it, and I actually agree with yours. One of the things that I thought was good from it, as me always trying to find the balance of it, you can say because I'm a Libra, whatever. But I thought it was exactly the kind of thing that Turning Point wanted to show. We're big enough to allow two different people who might be even at each other's throat to share the same stage and the conversation to happen without turning everybody off. And I thought that was a bold move of them.
I agree that was a bold move from them.
That was a bold move from them.
I'm thinking about the people.
I agree with you. I think
there's
there's
30,000 people here that did not get to go to that memorial and honor Charlie and his legacy and celebrate it. And I think the target is always the people. The target's always the people. And I think that they had a moment that was kind of taken from them last night, so we could have an influencer cat fight instead.
No, I agree. And neither one showed meekness in the process, which is like, this is not the time nor the place or the platform or the way to honor my brother.
The big moment last night should have been Erica Kirk's speech.
Right.
That should have been the big moment. That should have been what went viral out of last night.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it wasn't.
Well, Steve, I hope you're not a prophet or the son of a prophet, and that all your prophecies don't come true on this one.
That's enough to turn me into a cessationist, brother. I agree. All right? There's a lot of things I hope I'm wrong about. Trust me. Yes.
Yeah. Very grateful for you, brother. I appreciate you. You're very good.
Appreciate you very much.
Thanks,
Lord,
Steve.
continue to bless what you do.
Anytime, guys. God bless.
Thank you.